Well, hello there, everybody. How can you not get up for a little bit of Mark Bolan? And I'll tell you what, dang it, don't get it on. Yeah, I did get to see him back in the day, and wow, what a freaking show. Anyway, welcome everybody. Thank you for being a part of this journey, and you certainly have enriched my life. Thank you. Debt of gratitude to all of you. And as we get everything situated here, we are good to go. So, again, welcome, greetings, salutations. How the hell are you? What's up? Whatever your greeting may be. Um, Welcome. Thank you. Know you can be other places, and I don't take it for granted that y'all are here. Often and just quite surprised, but love y'all and the speaking favor over us all. Nothing missing, nothing broken. And whatever you do, be kind to your mind today. I left the link down below. If I've had a lot of people request, stuff with me on it. I don't know why, but anyway, Miss Nina, she went there and she's got it into her store. So link is below. And if you want to have some of that, take a double portion. That's all I got to say. So welcome everybody. How is everyone in the chat room? By the way, Mark Bolan was, wow, just an amazing talent. He was truly the electric warrior. Uh, I wonder what's so fun about the beginning of rock and roll. We didn't have a template. No, we didn't have anything. What we had was the soul, the human curiosity, the creativity. And I don't know if that's been genetically implanted in us. If you take that, you can look at both sides. One, it's like, well, if we got it, then they got it too. I mean, hell, does E.T., does God have like a band? I would think so. Yeah. And then if you look at the other side, if they don't, well, that we have to just blow their socks off. And that was the great thing about rock and roll. It was free forming and had so many different variations. And, if you were being raised at that period of time and was out partying with that, yeah, yeah, you came in at the right time. And I know a number of y'all. Mark, I can see that as well. I know Gilbert, as well, and a few others like Hey Lost in Space and Rick. Y'all know. Hey, Goddess Sabina, haven't seen you a while. Favor be with you, dear. Hello, Stephanie Marie. What's up? And Felix, and let's see who's else. Jackie, Jay. Nothing missing, nothing broken. And Morgan, good to see you as well. So, what else is happening? Watermelon, water terms. Hope your day was as good as I've had mine. Actually, it's been really far out. Yeah, it really is. So, Nina, what's up with you, darling? Good to see you. Know thyself. DC, what's up? Carol, hello. Kill your egregore. Love the handle, John. Good to see you and Stephen as well. Susie Q, what's up, darling? Mr. Dave Sullivan as well as I'm just scrolling through. So, yeah, wasn't yesterday. We're going to pick up on that. And what we're going to be delving into today is not really as far-fetched as it seems. Great minds, have thought and concluded the same thing. So get ready because, again, the only thing you need here is an open mind. Have a little love in your heart, spread the love around. The chat room is a great place for that. Lovely people here. And again, Mike and Cindy, thank you. that was just fabulous. We're getting some really good Tuesdays are like with Trina and Jenny, and Thursdays with Mike and Cindy. And I mean, it's like really cool. Going to have Nina and Robert on in November. I wonder if it'll be code then. Bet you it will be. So let's get right into this because the question is legitimate. Did aliens create human religion? Now, my theological training taught me, and it's really weird how they position it because it's so ambiguous in its nature. Well, how do you define God? How do you see God? Well, no one can see God because God is God, but yet the very material paints a far different picture. You've got this supposed being. Well, for humans, how else are you going to relate a being? Well, most likely you're going to think bipedal, stands upright, has hands, feet, has a mouth, because it did say it spoke, so it has to have a mouth. So what were we looking at? Now, this is from I left Christianity a long time ago. And if you're into it, that's cool. You're going to be into something. If not yourself, well, you know. But for myself, you look at this and you go, well, what really else can you conclude? That it was some dude, because it calls itself him, all right. And then the whole trip starts, right? And these are supposed to be powerful words, sacred words, right? But as it turns out, the question that no one seems to want to answer is, well, is God human? And that's a two-way trap any way you take it. If you say no, well, then that means it's alien, extraterrestrial. It's of a non-Homo sapien. I mean, that's rather biased because it does not lend any credence or recognition to the other homogenesis of our species that made it possible for you and I to be here. They actually paid the price. We're just riding on the free ride that they gave us. Well, you don't want to say that, Steiger. Then that really gets all complicated. I mean, what? So what was Adam? Homo sapien? And again, you're going, well, what about the rest of those folks? And they were. The truth of the matter is, if we are probably anything, we're a genetic experiment because they turned our asses loose on the world. And here's the thing about Homo sapiens, they'll screw anything that they see. And they did. So now that gets complicated. And then the question says, well, did they have gods? Was it the one that we perceive here? And so as you study this, something doesn't add up. And there's like very sharp, really intelligent people that have really thought this out. They a couple of them have written their dissertations for their doctoral degree. I mean, that's an accomplishment. And all their research from a non-biased, non-religious perspective says that the only way that we developed our religions were from aliens, extraterrestrials. And then the questions I wrote in the description. Well, it seems like we got the first question maybe answered. The answer is yes. The next one are all religions of an alien origin. I would say a fair amount of them. However, you have to add the caveat that there are a few that seem to be Homo something. I don't know if sapiens the right thing. And we really don't know how long we've been around. And the truth of the matter is, you and I are no longer Homo sapien. Now, technically, they say Homo sapien sapien. Okay. But we're hybrids. In 2005, when we broke the human genome code, God was exposed because we got the building blocks now, which then leads into that thing. Then would all religions be of an alien origin? Well, I'd say 99%, yes. And then this is the next one. How can there be so many different religions in the world? I have the numbers. I have a little PowerPoint we're going to look at, and it's quite surprising. And then the next question becomes, and we hit upon it yesterday really good. Why do aliens demand that humans worship them? I was out doing Bentley and I, who's right down here beside me. Um, we were out early this morning. And I asked my question as I looked into what they tell me is the firmament, the heavens. I don't know. Haven't ever been there. I mean, it's the highest I've gotten is about 44,000 feet. And I've never been to outer space, so I don't know if that's true or not. But they tell me that's what it is. And I questioned and I said, so why do I feel compelled to give thanks? There's nothing wrong with humility. It's part of character. A person of great integrity has humility. And I was thinking about this topic. You know, we study the gods here, and we're discovering a lot of them. Fortuna. How did I know that she's been around for way longer than the Jesus dude? Way longer. And she's still here. So is Fortuna an alien? An alien hybrid? Would that be the term demigod? But it gets back to that basic question, why do aliens demand humans worship them? And then the next question, because if you're going to invent a religion, right? Well, you got to have all the components to support it. So the next logical question is, well, then, if you were going to present yourself as a god or goddess, then the next is, do aliens have the technology that is more superior than death? And can they resurrect the dead? I mean, if we are this genetic experiment, and according to the book, remember, God, well, it wasn't the same God than the previous chapter, but this God breathed into the man, right? That's what the narrative says. And remember, that's just one point of view. And then it said that man became a living soul. Well, if you want to take a look at this from a geneticist, how would you want to tell the story? Something was added to him? Because the female hadn't come into the picture yet. So it would seem to me that they would have a lot of adjustments to make. So, according to the Apocrypha, Adam committed suicide over and over and over again, and they kept resurrecting him. Eve didn't commit suicide as much as Adam did, but she did and had to resurrect her as well. So that kind of gives you, the technology that was introduced to the world. These gods introduced themselves. So how about let's go back in time, woo, to John Carpenter with what? The day the earth stood still. I mean, there we got introduced to a technology that could resurrect a human body. And even as Carpenter said, you know, there's only so far that we can go. All right, so if you have technology that can resurrect the dead, holy crap, restore them back to what they were before, if not better. To our little finite minds, that's God. And hell, it's written in so many other religions that these gods have a time when they're going to resurrect the dead. Why? Why would you want to be, think about that. That's messed up. But we're not aliens, so we don't think like them. So if they've got the technology, holy crap. So where's the origins? Where are our origins? We don't know. We got amnesia, baby. But we're looking. So if they demand worship, then they would have to leave a trail, right? And our modern technology to where everything is being recorded now all around the world is the reason why we're seeing all of them. They've been here apparently. And the question is, it seems that they have the technology not only to resurrect the dead, not only to make a human being, we figured out the building blocks now as well. But they seem to have the inner ability to do interdimensional travel. They can pop in and out, which is again lends credence to the thought that this is really just a firmament. We think we see the universe. Our instruments tell us that this is vast, it's huge. But maybe that's just an illusion. Maybe we truly are the ship in the bottle. So, for our pleasure, because I like doing this shit, this stuff is really good. Yeah. You learn stuff and you go, really? Uh, hadn't thought about that. Well, that's the idea. We think about it. So, according to AI chatbot, there are 4,000 different religions. That would then mean there are 4,000 different gods. Getting a little crowded, ain't it? So, are all these different religions, these different gods, all alien inspired? Or are we talking about a finite, limited group that through our ignorance, because remember, we can't even remember where we came from. How do you know what God is and isn't? You had to be taught this. You have an inert ability within yourself to trust yourself. That's what children do. But what we teach our children is not to trust themselves. Well, that's kind of foreign. That's kind of alien, isn't it? Cold. And the next question then becomes, well, is God an alien? The dilemma that we have with the Abrahamic religions, by the way, and if you break the numbers down, it's quite interesting. So if you can include Christians and Muslims, they combined with the Jewish, and by the way, there's only 16 million Jewish people who, how they come up these numbers, I don't know. We say that this is fact. I don't know. Did they take a head count? But anyway, for the sake of this topic, so that represents about 4.6 billion human beings that either believe in universalism, because how can you have the same God with three distinct different belief systems, but yet all claiming to be the product of this character Abraham? And then that gets sticky, because if you believe that, well, then you can't ignore or deny that the fact that, well, before he became Abraham, he was Abram, he was from Sumer. Well, if he was from Sumer, as we talked yesterday, then that means then he would know who the Sumerian gods were. But let's go on. So, are we talking the same God? Are we talking different gods? Now, here's an interesting folk, tradition, and pagan. We actually represent 6%, 6.6%, oddly. Estimated 400 million plus people around the world are pagan in their belief systems, and we're growing. 1.2 for Hinduism, and as I said, Judaism, 16 million. So are we humans under the control of something alien? Because all the teachings that I was taught, and I can hold my own in any theologian's debate or discussion, and what I was taught, sheesh, well, it's interesting, because in one hand, it does have some truth to it. But the problem is, again, it's that conundrum. Is there such a thing as a half truth? I mean, how can you have a half truth? Then that would say you could have a half of a lie. Well, there's dualism. Hello. So is dualism alien inspired? Is this what set the laws, the framework of the foundation of what we defined as life, reality, living in the real world, quote unquote? We went into the Dark Ages when Christianity particularly came onto the scene. And that tells us something right there. And, you know, I have contended there's no way a human can make up a religion like the one that I came from. They're not smart enough. And then I think that could be applied to a lot of religious beliefs. The Mormons had the angel Marconi that led uh, Smith to the Golden Books. Well, was that true or was that not true? And if it was true, well, then this angel, which we know about angels, are not human. Or are they? Are they a genetic um, distant relative? I mean, if you had one pattern of a bipedal being and it seemed to work, I guess you'd use it over and over again, right? Why not? But then we found out that, well, angels can have sex, and apparently they can have sex with women. And then all of a sudden, these angels began to be worshipped. Is that alien inspired? And again, is it that complicated? This is like a, multinational, international business. It's got so many damn layers in the org chart that, you know. You got 1,000 bosses. So think, and it's just a running hypothesis, that they came down in mass. We have no record of it because humanity was put into something. And listen, if you've got the technology to raise the dead, then you got the technology to get inside our head. I mean, that's what this whole story about the Tower of Babel is. The aliens used a technology because our brains are fragile. They can be easily manipulated. Humans are, by nature, easily manipulated. So during that period, they were working out the bugs. And I believe that they were all over the planet. Apparently, that's what they've done before. And apparently, they're going to do it again. So if we begin to look at the Renaissance period, particularly, and that's, Renaissance going to what, about the, 12th century, 16th century, maybe 15th. But something was going on. And it's directly connected to the most dominant religious belief today. And I don't find that by coincidence. It looks like it was implanted into us, this belief system. And it doesn't matter whether it happened or not. That doesn't no longer matter. We think it did, or many people do. Those who wake up out of it, you begin to find a very unpleasant truth. There's a great comfort in a religion. The comfort is that it qualifies you into a relaxed sleep type of comfort. You don't have to think about this shit anymore. You're saved. You've got your religion. And that's all that matters now. It's very easy. What's not easy is that when you get outside that envelope. And so if you look at this, something's going on. I believe that these artists were, in fact, either under control through some sort of hypnotic mind control. I believe that this is where this religion, and maybe all religions, have been founded upon. They're alien in nature. Why? Because they were created by aliens. So you can't just simply say that what was a person in the 13th century thinking? Painters paint what they see. This is a ship. And it's interesting that where you see religion, you see aliens. You see ships. God, the God of the Old Testament, is in a ship. And mind you, they're merely hearing the stories because the vast majority of people during this time were ignorant. Many that were in the papacy, into the government of the religion, were ignorant. They did what they were told. But the artists, something was taking place here. And you can't just simply say that, well, I guess he got some mushrooms there, or no. These painters in their deep meditation, they're channeling. Again, the ship. I wonder how many times they have fed off of me in intense prayer. Because you transmit an energy when you get into these deep state, these meditative states. Maybe it's the loosh that they feed off of. Maybe it's a feedback current. The more you get into prayer, the more you get into the theta waves, delta waves, where they become almost even, that you're now open to the receiving of the download. And depending on how you perceive yourself, where you stand, those downloads will be different in their content and context. But no matter how you slice it and dice it here, there's something going on. These artists, there was something, and it's interesting how they perceived the heavens. How would they perceive the heavens? And is that a balloon? Is that a hot air balloon? I don't remember the technology being available back then, but okay, who knows? Or is that a golden orb that we see today? You can summon them in. Dr. Stephen Greer has shown you. I mean, it's a technique. It's a channel of communication. It's like you're at the, you know, uh, 2.4 or 3.3 gigahertz level. But if you look even around the supposed balloon, those are spaceship. Those actually look like, to me, I interpret those maybe as the jellyfish UFOs that we're now getting pictures of. But if you look on the right with the Mother of God, Mary, um, it's interesting that, the woman's role, but even her headdress is that of a representation of a spaceship. And if you look above her head, that's a ship or a potential portal opening up. The clouds are of an odd shape as well. I've had enough mental training that if you get into it, you can really get into their heads. I mean, it's difficult because I'm still perceiving it from my level, but yet I can interpret art. And I gotta admit, what was this painter thinking? Wow, gotta love it. Wouldn't you love to interview him? And here's the full picture. Now, I find it interesting. This one's filled with so much. Uh, there's some weird stuff going on here. I mean, we're just going to cover a little bit of it. So the lady is with child, obviously. I find it interesting that she is turning a wheel. I don't know why the wheel of fortune comes up, but um, and some of these people aren't human. Just look at the fellow on the right. What's going on here? And if you look at the fine fellow up at the upper right hand, he's aware of this ship. That's what I'm calling it. He can see it. And I often wonder, are we seeing something here? Are these alien visitors? Oh, they were into some of the most interesting stuff. Paintings that you're going, how? The detail of this is part of the crucifixion of the Christ. I don't care what you tell me, that's a fighter pilot. You can call them an angel, you can call them whatever it is. They're not human because no human neck can do that. And it appears that the controlling of the device is more telepathically done than through manual. And I'm telling you, I think that that device that you see at the front of the cockpit of this craft is either a device that can pick up the interface, of which we're now able to do with mind and machines. I found it interesting the symbolism, the symbols that are painted on the ship. I think these are insignias, just one interpretation. And here is that picture in its entirety. And you have to ask yourself, so why would there be fighter pilots around a crucifixion? Jesus wasn't human. He may have been half human, but he truly was a demigod by the very technical definition of that. And it's just something that, again, look at the device at the foot of the Christ. Again, things are happening here. If you notice over here to the far right, those cats appear to be shielded. It's just my interpretation, but yeah. I believe the fleets have always been here. I believe that as we were talking yesterday, they're up in the skies right now. They're right there. You can walk outside and I can tell you they're up there. Because how does a painter in the I think this is 14th century right about there. And the people don't seem to be freaked out. That's the other thing. There's no fear on these people's faces. There's reverence. Um, I have no idea what the priest or whatever's got in his hand there. I don't know if that's a sickle or, yeah, that's what it looks like. But if you look at the number of ships, that's an armada. And again, why would the aliens be so concerned with how humans are adapting to this new religion? And why would you need so many ships? I often wonder, does ET have to take a piss? Do they have to take a crap every now and then? I mean, I don't know. My mind goes off in different directions as I'm going, okay. But even AI is getting into the thing. Find it interesting that AI would be as interested in trying to interpret what these artists were doing. And this is AI generated art. There, something took place. Now, this is an actual painting again from the Renaissance period. So the whole thing with Mary now becomes like, okay, so what are we actually seeing here? And there's the complete painting. And I don't think that these artists were, texting each other. So, how are you coming along with the painting there? I'm kind of stuck, Well, did you make sure to put in the alien guys? Oh, thanks. And of course, we've discussed this one. It it seems to me that Earth is a satellite, that Earth is very narrow and very restricted. We think it's vast, but apparently there's something that's even bigger than us. And again, it has the signature of ET all over it. And then you have to add the thought, well, if they're saying they look like they're human, but yet they can change and be of a different appearance, isn't that shape-shifting? And then once again, as I pointed out yesterday, the device that's sitting on the table here, it's radiating some sort of energy. And it's odd that you have an antenna on this satellite. How did this artist, I mean, again, he had to be up there in the ethers for sure. I mean, and the depiction that these crafts are in the clouds. They come out of the clouds. We've seen that over and over and over again. And then the question begs to be answered, are they one and the same? Even the Chinese, they have records that go back way before these crafts landing, non-human beings occupying them. And I believe the alien that is giving the word of God to the priest is so telling. Now, everyone's going to have their different interpretation, but for myself, I'm going, yeah, right. And how does a guy know how to paint that? So during this Renaissance period, they none of them seem surprised. It's like, okay, and they're back. Yeah. Watch your P's and Q's, man. That's all I got to tell you. They can hear everything that you're thinking. um, and then you get into these bizarre paintings, bizarre in the aspect that it's not what we perceive as normal or in reality. And this is the rest of that painting. I had to wait for it because look at it. The mothership of all motherships. I'm telling you, there was something going on. There's no doubt about it. And they appear to be human-like, but they're using technology. For me, I don't care who the god is, they got technology. I mean, they wear the clothing, the whole bit, right? I thought, and I'm gathering that that is Mary. Her hand is an interesting way that it is. I mean, yeah. And again, when you begin to combine these with the Far East, then you go down into with the original people, the Mesoamerican cultures, these bipedal beings, these aliens. It's mind-boggling. Where these UFOs are, they are directly associated with holiness, sacredness. The people bow. The people become reverent. And it appears to me that they're not afraid. They're not startled. It's almost like they're receiving something. Again, what's going on here? It's they're alien. I mean, we call them UAPs, you can call them UFOs, you can call them whatever you want, but they're here. They've been here. They're associated again with the Holy Spirit. Now, for me, I'm going to go back in time, we're going back. And so I am at this church that we were a part of in the very beginning. And now I'm beginning to think, all right, so there were these miracles happening, there was visions, there were all sorts of stuff. Were we not really aware that there was a ship above us? Because here it shows the Holy Spirit coming down on what appears to be a light beam. Is this a drone? Is this technology? It's um it's odd. And then you got the Egyptians. They seem to have a whole thing that knew about him. They left us messages, but we were too dumb. But why? Because we always regress. We achieve a certain height of enlightenment and then it collapses. It's almost as if it's by design. And you look in the detail. Why are they sending ships down? Why are they? And apparently there are sentient beings in these ships. I mean, someone's controlling it, or is it by remote control? Pick and choose yourself. Now, what's interesting with this side by side comparison here, there's two different technologies. Now, someone was saying, well, this could be representing the moon and that's the sun. Yeah, okay, right. So what are the astronauts doing in there or the pilots? Is one pursuing the other? Is this why the one on the right's looking back and is thinking, oh crap? Does it have a more powerful ship? Appears. And if you look closely at the painting on the left, on the inside, wow, there's some real stuff going on there. I mean, was this painter remote viewing? And then we got the old 1512 or 14 Nuremberg attack. Spaceships as big as the cities, crashing, attacking. And remember, religion is all associated with this. And now in this painting, they know something is going on. This is not normal. I think in this painting, I see more panic. And when people panic, where do they go? To church. So is this what's going on here? I mean, so much great interpretation on this. I can see Spielberg and, Close Encounters, right? It's like, yeah. But I see a battle taking place, broken ships in the sky, crashing. In another depiction, they show people actually, you know, getting sick. But again, all of these continually show aliens, ships. associated with worship, reverence, prayer. I mean, are there ships that literally stand above us? We just can't see them? Here's Moses. And I thought this was rather interesting because this not only shows the ships in the air, but it also depicts Moses with horns. You know, it's written in the book of Exodus that when he met Yahweh in the ship, that his skin was radiated in the presence of this being. I often wonder, is it the radiation that drives this ship that these beings are immune to, that it would have an effect upon us? I don't know. I did a whole series on that. But nevertheless, so Moses, for the rest of his days, according to the story, wore a veil because the people were freaking out. What the hell happened to you? Oh, I met God. Okay, why don't you just stand right over there, please? Yeah, I don't know. But the horns, of course, the horns represent wisdom. And so Moses had this whole transformation thing going on, uh, and it is said that the instruction book was given in the Kivav of God, and Kivav being the ship. So yeah, and we know that apparently this ship did land. The Saudis opened the area up where you can actually see where the ship landed, that this cod came from. It still to this very day has scarred the top of that mountain. Really weird. And again, our ancestors were saying they are here. Did they teach us religion? Because a religion is ultimately what it is all about is control. It's about controlling your mind, your thoughts, your body, the whole bit. I mean, did the Egyptians use stargates? I mean, how does this work? Here's an attack coming from a UFO, but in this case, whatever is attacking them, it appears to be a dragon of some sort or whatever creature. May not be a dragon at all. May in fact be an alien. I got no idea what these two cats are doing. None at all, but they're floating. And it looks to me like they're trying to do some supplication, like, take this away from us, right? Always the ships, always with the cross. And I'm not just saying it's this one particular religion, I think it's with them all. Alien. Is it the reptilians? I don't know. Da Vinci saw them. Are they the one that gave Da Vinci the vision, the sight? Again, the ships. And when you look at this and try to interpret this one, good luck with that. uh, it is obviously alien of nature, but then again, it clearly shows me that they're giving the church what the Word of God is. And notice the guard down on the very end and the people standing on that crosswalk. They don't seem a bit upset about this. Like, mm-mm. So I brought us here to, excuse me one second, to take us to yet another place. Uh, yeah, isn't that it's bizarro. So there's actually a book that we're going to cover here. Today, we're just going to go, let me find in myself. Like, okay, Steiger, you left the bus right there, right? So this is an interesting book by Dr. Heather Lynn, The Anunnaki Connection, The Sumerian Gods, Alien DNA, and the Fate of Humanity. She writes an interesting book that we'll have fun making some reference to, fun in the aspect that it's very revealing. Dedicated to those who stay up late to dream when the rest of the world remains asleep in the darkness. That's what we do. So I want to go to connecting the dots on this and just to read just a little excerpt from here because I think you'll like this. The omission is the most powerful form of a lie, and it is the duty of the historian to ensure that those lies do not creep into the history books. George Orwell. We know today history that's being written, yeah, it's being reinterpreted. But anyway, because the Anunnaki, all the Abrahamic religions are Sumerian in nature. They have to be. Unless there's another alien god that usurped Enki, Enlil, the whole pantheon of the Sumerian deity. I don't believe so. I've often wondered many times, what did this cat, if the story is true, and I don't know, I wasn't there, but if it is true, this is an alien god. It's not the God in the book of Genesis. I mean, the first two chapters, or even the third. This is a different alien god. It's not the Sumerian gods. This god was different in many aspects, is that it revealed it could not enter in to this realm unless it had a covenant with the rightful owners, meaning humans. So it had to have this covenant. And the way it went brokering this covenant was so bizarre and strange. I mean, slaughtering a bull, splitting it in two, then having the initiate walk around in the entrails and the blood, and then have the initiate walk to the side and then hide itself as the god came in and consumed this blood, this flesh, and thus it was called a blood covenant, which then commensurately allowed this entity to enter into this realm, and look what's happened ever since. Now, it would also indicate that apparently maybe Enki and Enlil and the rest of them aren't here. Because I really don't remember a battle. What I do remember, though, is reverence to the Sumerians, because as I said to you yesterday, you got a follow-up story in that with Zechariah, this prophet character. And the thing about it is, this God of Israel, this Hebraic God, never, ever attacked Sumer. Never. In fact, it was almost like it didn't exist. I see that's telling to me. And I'm not sure that what this God was that Abraham met is the same God or gods that are in control today. But no matter how you look at this, something is coming back. So I want to get to one particular point in this book. So what she in her study in this book brings out is that the Sumerians and the Anunnaki um, appear to be more real than what most of humanity has been taught. And it's been taught on purpose not to know who the Anunnaki really are. And she brings out, some of the things that others have tried to do in recognize him. Unfortunately, again, here's where the dog bites both ends with Stitchin is that although he was never a Sumerian taught himself, I think in some ways he did a great disservice because it injected some confusion that I don't think it needed to be there. These Anunnaki within the history of the Sumerian culture were as real as they can be. It's as real as Jesus, put it that way. Um, so civilization begins to collapse. And it seems to be, and as we'll get into this more because I'm looking at the time and I'm running out of time. Unfortunately, I wanted to get back to that, but we'll get back to that probably next week because this you just it's too deep. I mean, the aliens creating human religion. Before we end today's lecture, I love that. So I bring the academic papers as well. So this is religion and extraterrestrials. So this is the psychological perspective. It's a Harvard paper written, I think, for their doctoral studies. I just want to read just a little bit of it. Because you see, in the 20th century, we questioned the existence of extraterrestrial life, became firmly rooted in scientific endeavors. Think about now with SETI, she brings out, Arecibo, everything that we've had on that, the satellites that we've sent out into space, so they say, and so we're getting our legs, so to speak. Now, this for humanity is a huge leap in the fact that we're used to seeing, or our culture, apparently our ancestors, were used to seeing their ships. So that would then indicate that maybe they didn't leave. Maybe they're resting. Maybe they're preparing for something. And in this paper, particularly, it brings out, and we'll get into it next week because there's not enough time. The evidence points to apparently these Anunnaki, when they get here, they ain't going to be happy about this. There's another one many of you are very much familiar with, the book that will forever change your ideas about the Bible. Mr. Margino Bongino, I think that's right. Biglino, excuse me, butchered that one up. So we're going to get into this as well. It's here. The Holy Spirit, alien. And for me, this kind of just freaks me out a little bit because, I was really deep into that. And I'm thinking, so what did I do here? It's like, all right, now I'm on the other side now, supposedly. You know, I have a much broader perspective. I question virtually everything. And that which I question, I study the best of my ability to find out. And then when I begin to find out, it's like, no, it don't stop there. No, no, it's continuing. And the more you go down this road, the more you're going, now, wait a minute. This is not adding up. This can't be by coincidence. But then they've allowed all this stuff to happen, right? No interdiction. I mean, the Nazis were, supposedly dealing with the occult and with flying saucers and beings that were telling them how to build this new technology, which was, by the way, not anti-gravity, anti-magnetic. And today, with the explosion of the occult itself, we've brought in a whole host of new gods and goddesses. Even I and myself, recognize that Well, there must have been a reason for our ancestors here. So is the goddess is are they alien in nature? Has time evolved to where do we actually now have demigods, hybrids that now occupy the places of the gods? I mean, is the universe really that big? Is the ether that big? Because in one sense of the word, my Christian theology taught me that I was a god. Know ye not that you are gods? That ain't an ego thing. I'm just, as just a layman going, okay, well, all right, that's what it says. Don't you know you're a god? Well, how could it be then wrong if I'm calling myself a god? And so, should I worship other gods or should I just acknowledge them? Because I don't think I want them to worship me. But it seems like some of these aliens are really tyrants. And so we write religions. And the religions are so multi-layered within themselves. It's not good enough for you to be a Christian because, well, you have to be a Baptist. No, you have to be a Methodist. No, we damn sure ain't no Catholics, but anyway, you have to be Presbyterian. No, you have to be Unitarian. No, you have to be Pentecostal. No, and you go through this and you're going, how can that be the same God? That's some wild stuff. It seems alien in nature. But I'll be the one called the heretic. That's all right. Because you see, how many ever watched the movie The Freshman? Matthew Broderick was in it, Penelope Ann Miller, Marlon Brando. It was uh, great, great movie. Anyway, Marlon Brando was playing the satire of himself as the Godfather. And he goes up to Clark and he says, Clarky, you know why I believe you? Because you're not a snake. You're not a snake in the grass. And then the further dialogue it is, and it says, I smell a rat. Hey, Dr. Sai, what's up? All right, everybody. Have yourselves a great weekend. Think a little bit. Think outside the box. Shock the people around you. Ask the questions that you're not going to hear normally asked. I have one person who, they're still deeply into their belief. It's cool. But they said they had to stop listening to me for a while. Person wrote, apparently the straw that broke the proverbial camel's back was the question when I asked, why didn't they name Eve's daughters? I don't know if this person's male or female. I have a sense it sounded more female, but I don't know. Said I never considered that. Says that's what you do. You've opened my mind, and that's what the person said I'm having a real challenge with. I just asked the question. I like to present a lot of different potential answers, point of views. But folks, I mean, that's a biggie. I mean, the daughters had a role in this, right? One would think. Again, I never seen a dude get pregnant, so I don't know. Yeah, Mr. Mission Control, you ask your AI what Eve's daughters were. Well, I would doubt the veracity of the answer. I'll put it that way. Um, but who knows, right? I don't know. So this has been fun. Um, Paul Joseph, your subjects do get a little intense. Yeah, well, this is strong meat. This is not for the weak of mind. I don't parse out watered down milk. I'm going to give you strong meat, and what you do with it, it's up to you. So chew carefully. Hey, Colleen, how you doing? Uh, I love it. Hey, Mark. Yeah, I thinking the same thing. Yeah. She she wouldn't be listening if not. I mean, she's already out the door. She just doesn't realize it yet. And we all know what that's like. It sucks. Hey, Gaia, what's up? Good to see you. How's Paul? Much love to you too. Shirley, good to see you. Susie Q, right back at you. Fortuna, I mean, I love her. She's a cool gal. So I actually got this golden um, portion from her, and it's delightful, a little heavy, but it's really kind of cool. I just got to tell you, stuff happens, and it's I fully get it, you know. So, all right, everybody, I'm going to make like a hockey player and get the puck out of here. See you on Monday. We'll pick up something right along the same lines. Much love to you all. Be good to yourself.